Okay. This in part takes in my how I wanted to do the world building in my own, like, in my own stories. But I think this also applies to maybe real life. So I like anime, I like science fiction, I like aliens, I like all, so I wanted to figure out a way where all that could coexist in the universe. But as you watch, sometimes because you're just so used because when you try to uh, think about things and all that we call you're still limited to your own reality, right? As I mentioned before, how Star Wars there's like a bunch of wires and stuff like that. Even though they're highly advanced, they're traveling to space. They have a bunch of wires coming out of the ship, and today you could probably and if you see if I'm into the alien stuff and how they talked about that one of the things they found inside the Roswell crash was basically what we have now, which was like stuff I forgot what. But either way, it was more advanced. It's far advanced than what you saw in Star Wars. But because we only knew that, we only used wires because that's how we knew. And so that's what I'm thinking. Like, even though I'm like trying to create these ideas, create like, something that has anime, like, we call it like these superpowers, but they're not like superpowers as Marvel's superpowers, but like different kind of superpowers and stuff like that. But you're like, oh shit, what happens if they jump into our world? Or if we jump into their world, what then? How does that affect it? And then you're like, oh shit, you have to break it off now because it go against the physics of our reality in general, our reality. And you could go like, you have to play by the same rules as we call, right? And if you're going to start to see what I'm going with. You have to play by the rules, by the universe, and universe probably is linear in that where it doesn't branch out as it probably does. But because sometimes we are limiting ourselves and not we call thinking about other possibilities beyond what we are aware of, right? And then there's other ideas of this is. From I forgot space and time, and they talked about there's a certain matter. I think it's a negative matter. I forgot what matter is, but they say if that matter exists, it basically it doesn't say it proves the simulation, but it tells you that you're capable to do anything in the universe. There's not really any physics that we need to abide to because this one we call existing kind of destroys all barriers that might be in the way, and more or less is us figuring out how to decode those things and how we could just manipulate everything and stuff like that, right? If that thing existed, then it just disproves everything, and then that this reality this we call is we call not a simulation, and that it just says physics is a lie. I could essentially be Superman and fly in the sky because if I knew how to manipulate it, the universe and whatever, I could essentially do that, and I could be like a superhero, and it's just everything just doesn't is no longer there's no we call. So so what I try to do is think about. Now we're gonna have in my week cards like now have different dimensions, right? This dimension plays with this physics. Some physics could go along with this, but you can't go beyond that because if you go beyond that, you're gonna break it. And then, but also it's like it goes through it contradicts the not the aesthetics, but the reality that you built. So like just a cartoon character meets like if I meet a real cartoon character, not like a cartoon character as like real life cartoon character, but actual what you see on screen cartoon character, I'll say pops up, you're like that doesn't make sense because that just breaks the reality. That was for me when our universes go to have different dimensions where those realities could exist. And these are just thoughts, right? This is me recall, right? And I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen, right? And they have these things called domains, right? I'll say this, like one of the things I was thinking about, because the Chris, I'm gonna reiterate some shit. I was watching the Jesse Michaels with Chris Bledsoe, and he talks about how the CIA, I think the CIA, I forgot what he said, the CIA, no, the NASA, either CIA or NASA, this guy from NASA, he's a time traveler, and he's like the adjustment rule is basically that, and you could manipulate time. But then the thought came to me, outside, space, time doesn't exist, but inside, our world, time does. Wherever wherever we are at, wherever stops us from abiding time, either to the magnetic field or our atmosphere, that's where time exists. And then when you go beyond that, time doesn't exist. Because you could go to I use this to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Basically that was it's supposed to be a video, actual reenact video of we making contact with aliens, right? And if you, I think if I remember correctly, because I remember hearing it because I watched it, but it's been a while, so whatever, right? There was people coming out who were in like World War II, I guess World War II or World War, either way, they were coming out. They were like from the past, but they're young. But they were from the past, and that is, wherever they were, time didn't affect them. So that's why I'm saying space might be time might not be non-existent in space, and time only exists in the we call in our atmosphere or our magnetic field, which one that time stops to affect us, that's when it stops, right? So I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen, and they talk about domains, and I'll say there's like, because the other issue I was having, because I was watching it, and there's this idea starting to come to mind about the same thing with time, and how long it no longer exists in space, but time exists right here. So in reality, time could be just like a plague. It could be something. Time is not air. I said time is not nothing. Time is something, and it's like time could be like a radio wave, or something that is physical, that you could actually formulate a recall. It just, we can't formulate that mathematically yet, because I don't think we're trying, or we're not. People are just thinking it's just some magical fucking thing to exist, when in reality it only exists because it might be a barrier that's covering us, and it's to watch. So that's where the jiu-jitsu thing comes in. But what I'm saying, that's, I'm thinking and watching this jiu-jitsu thing, and sometimes, because maybe my mind is leading into that, and they're not recall, but I just, like, this guy has the limitless power, and he's able to like limitless power, where I think it's called limitless, but I forgot what it was. But he's basically able to manipulate. He's like basically like unstoppable, because he's able to sense things and shit like that, right? And it goes beyond space. I'm like, then that's why I was getting stuck at. because I was starting to think about the time and how that, and the back of the head's right there. It's right there. It's like I'm slowly touching it, but it's not fully, thought out. Like right now, it's not really fully thought out right now, but it's starting to take shape with me, right? And so I'm thinking, how can you, once you leave, are these people special that once they leave space they could still retain that and stuff like that? Then I'm like, maybe not, because maybe they're only able to have these special powers is because of the domain, not necessarily their domain that they talk about, but the planet they live in its domain. And when you think about it, Mars has a different domain, Earth has a different domain. They could be all similar or they could be all different, and maybe it's the sun that gives a certain certain physics to the solar system, or whatever, or it's just the planet itself and what the materials is made that it's creates the domain and its possibilities. And then I go back to the aliens things where I'm like, that could be thing, but how come aliens are able to break our physics? Right? What we are aware of our physics. It just could be somebody that would say our physics are in this domain is probably more obviously for me because I know because of all the alien stuff and stuff like that. To me it's like, yes, we have a higher we could manipulate things far more better than we are right now, but our physics is probably more better if we didn't allow the government to stop us from actually, doing all these stuff like zero gravity and shit like that. Where, for me, it's like, yeah, we could do what the aliens does, but the government stops us from doing that. So that's, so like obviously for me, that's, yeah. The only reason why they're able to do it because they're free from our government control. Right, so that's one thing that was on my mind, and as I said, I'm taking it out right now, and that could just be the fact of the matter. In reality, they come in and they get the whole information, and they're like, okay, this planet, this is it, and we have to conform to it. If we don't conform to it, then we might get obliterated, or we won't be able to do what we need to do, whatever our case may be, that they are there to do what they need to do. So there's that idea, but the idea was but the original thought was aliens basically they're able to still keep their physics and put it into ours, but doesn't mean our physics doesn't mean that because if their physics is more better than us, doesn't mean they can't succumb to it, because at the end of the day our physics is still our physics, and we are able to have full reign over it compared to them who are only got the outlook, who are superior, but we call like a cassette compared to a CD, and then compared to a digital file of the music. So what I'm saying, digital file superior, it's far superior, but doesn't mean the cassette or CD can't do the same thing, if not better, because just say the cassette has this better sounding thing, and it's like, but it doesn't mean you can't emulate it, but just doesn't mean there's not the same. It's like the cooking thing, like everybody's cooking good, but if you cook with love, it just hits a little different. It could be nothing, but it could actually be something too, right? It could also be just us filled with nostalgia of the food that we are eating because it's with somebody, and it's like all the, you know, there's always some explanation to a thing, right? But that's the original thought. Then as I'm keep watching it, and they keep talking about domains, and it finally clicked. And basically, it's that. What if that the Earth and our wherever's the cutoff, that's the domain. Basically, in space, maybe it's what space is. I'm not entirely sure. But once you enter a domain like Earth, then there's rules that applies, and whatever that atmosphere, whatever that thing that we call, that's what the rules of physics are to that domain. And there's other people who could come in there and who could, you know, still have their things apply to it while it, you know, we call, but at the same time it could, because there's this I never got the idea, just because this is, I'm more of a, you know, the crazy person. I never got the idea of how can we, a civilization as we, shoot down a UFO? Because there's these records saying that we shoot down UFOs and stuff like that. And how can a highly advanced civilization, alien race, get shot down by inferior alien race like us humans? My idea, I think this is why I just don't think we're not stupid. I think we actually have these highly advanced weaponry and stuff like that, and it's not as, these aliens think it's sweet. It's not as sweet as they think it is when they, you know what I'm saying, when they step on their Earth. You know what I'm saying? It's not as sweet. And so when they come, they know we come packing, but that's what I think, right? Okay, so where I was gonna go with that? Oh yeah, just I think where I was going with that is, no matter what, you could still even though they're weak, they're still able to, even though they're highly advanced and we're not. They still have to. Okay, so that's my thought. But you know that's my thought. Like, we're shooting them down. They're like, no, that's impossible. But the other reason they think it is because it's, well, this is the, you know, the alien conspiracy things is, and they said sometimes when a UFO flies, they might hit a electric magnetic field or some shit like that or whatever, and they hit it not knowing, and they just, and it messes up their technology, and it drops, and that's how sometimes they get fucked. It's not necessarily by us, but because maybe a radio signal hits it and boom, it just fucking falls off the sky, right? It's just like that. So it's like, even though a highly advanced thing could still be succumb to our inferior things. So not saying, so saying like sometimes if just say like a Superman comes, or he's going at some point, whatever it may be, he will have our vehicle will still be able to affect him in a way, and what that might be, maybe he gets sick when these people are very healthy individuals and they never get sick, and he may get sick, or maybe he loses the power, or whatever the case may be. But I think, right, once you enter that domain, just like time, the physics of it controls the environment. So I'd say, and that's another thing too, maybe planets have their different domains, and how that recall, how that's controls their physics, or maybe the sun is what gives them that certain physics. So either say the sun hits the earth, and because the reflection of it, wherever it comes in, that's how it's going to be manipulated compared to Venus, Mars, or whatever. Or it's just the whole same around with minor tweaks that one gets more elevated and one doesn't. So yeah, this is one of these. I was watching it. I'm thinking I was gonna do it yesterday, but I was like, it doesn't sound recall. I was like, And today, right now, I'm still watching it, and it just fucking clicked to me. So I think that's it. I think time is a thing. What that is, it's probably like a radio wave. It's like a, but I'm not saying it's a radio wave, but I'm saying it's a thing that you could formulate. You could formulate a radio. You could create a radio wave. Like I'm gonna say this, like I repeat every time I'm listening to music as I'm doing this recall, as I'm doing this podcast. I'm listening to music, but by Bluetooth. So it's connecting through the radio wave to the recall, to my laptop, to my headphones, my wireless headphones. And I think that's what time is too. You could control time, you could hold time, you could do all the things you could do with time. Only in the circumference of the in the earth. Once you leave earth, time doesn't, you can't control time. Which I think that's, because that kind of confused me too. I'm not sure, because it confused me in the sense that, how come, because it's one of those things where you like, there's like something that doesn't exist but exists. There's some stars that doesn't like if you look at the sky, there's a abduction. I think it's I forgot how, Bonnie and Hill, I think it is. There's an abduction where there's like, hey, I'm gonna give you the star map, and this one that we haven't found yet, but it's gonna come to be. And I guess the alien said that too. It's like, hey, this is where we live. It hasn't been born yet, but when it gets born, you're gonna see it at some point. But we exist just because of the distance. You can't see it and stuff like that. And it confuses me. That part confuses me. Is like, how can you know what I'm saying? And maybe in space, that's where I was gonna say time actually exists. But maybe that's where, not time, but where, not time. Because there goes the thing, there's one little, maybe fake, but it's like an interview where they said, they were trying to explain to alien how we deal with time, and it's fucking confused. We're like, well, we just deal with it by, I think he said by like, in an outward way. I don't know. I forgot what he said about how they deal with it. But they deal with it weirdly. They don't see time as we do, and maybe that's where we call reality. No, not reality. I had it in my head too what that could be, and it's not time. Not that's when in space, not where time actually exists, but where instance. I don't know. Maybe, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe space is where I'm gonna say time actually spins, because yeah. that's it. I think that there's something to that, because I'm saying, if you believe in the alien conspiracies and the uh, Close Encounter of the Third Kind movie, and they're telling us that that's the reenactment of us communicating with an alien civilization, or whatever the case had been for that whole encounter, and how there was people who coming out were young, even though they were, I guess, because they were wearing AV jackets, and I guess that was World War I or World War II, and they didn't have an age a bit when it's been like 20, 40 years since that war happened, and also the idea is time didn't affect them, and chances are they were not here and they were out in outer space and stuff like that. And I think there's something to it. I think time is manipulated, and the idea of that time being manipulated might be like how we're seeing it, like, oh, we could, which is the case, but and I think the whole idea of time is maybe a construct of, what was that shit they always say, that they make fun of people who believe in who wants to constantly want to like me, who wants to constantly poke at a theory, sex, male and females or yeah, male female is a construct. It's a societal construct or some shit like that. Maybe time is a construct of reality. No, that wouldn't be the right way to say it. Either way, and maybe it is. I don't know. Well, either way, I think we're fearing time because time is affecting us. But if we're able to control time, it no longer will affect us, and it would be a trap, be a prison for people who are still unable to figure out the puzzle of time. It's a construct. Time is a construct. And once we figure out the puzzle, we will no longer we know our lives will no longer abide by that. And you're like, oh yeah, but how are we gonna figure that puzzle out? Blah blah blah. Maybe that puzzle is within us. Physically. Maybe our body needs to adjust to the time so that so give me a second. It's about 28. I was gonna end it real quick, but I'm not gonna keep. So it might be we need to, I think sometimes we always think outwardly instead of inward, and maybe the pulses inside of us, and we need to either manipulate our recall and our DNA to combat the time, whatever time is doing to us. We need to combat it by switching some DNA sequences or something like that, or whatever the case be. Maybe the time, maybe time in itself is like it's encompassed in awe, and because it's encompassed in awe, it's able to go into our skins and affect our cells and stuff like that. Whereas if we figure out a way to maybe block it, maybe time will be able to enter, or maybe time will, instead of affecting it, will go along with it. And I think I think as that's on time. I think yeah, time. I just don't think now. Like I'm trying to think because I forgot who it was, but he was some guy who was like a predictor and stuff like that. I watched it on Capgang. I was trying to find the guy, but I couldn't find him. I don't know if they took it off or not. But this guy also said you have to when you try to find the meaning of life or the secrets of the universe, you have to use science, psychology, and I forgot the other things he mentioned. But the guy said that, and I think science is cool now, but once you start to just rely on it, like some religions, there's the idea that your aliens are starting to be a religion, UFOs starting to be religion, and they made fun of Joe Rogan about AI being a religion and stuff like that. He's playing with the idea, but I get what he was trying to say. Well, maybe he was trying to say that, but he's also playing with the idea. But the idea is once it will be because there's actual thing where people are starting to use AI as a religion figure, and because so at some point there's going to be things where you're so beholden to that it becomes undeniable for you. And I'm for science. I like watching scientific stuff, but also like recently I've been like watching psychological stuff, mostly with one person, but how he speaks about psychology and how but the morals and other shit he talks about. And also, I'm into anime. I'm into just other things, right? And I think you have to apply all that to have a better understanding of our universe. Because if you just, I don't think we're stupid. And I think the only reason why we have an events as far as we have is because our government's not allowing it. And if you are into the alien stuff, one of this at the entitlement. Jesse Michael, his podcast, The Alchemist, he talks about this guy a lot. He fucking is like on his shit, and this guy is the one. If it's correct, he kind of might have found zero gravity and how we could zip through the fucking like UFOs and shit like that. But because the government didn't want that, we call it. Not only that, they made sure, because it's like the same thing. Some scientists, once you go beyond what we're familiar with, then they're gonna like, no, you're wrong, blah blah blah, and stuff like that, and that creates this peer pressure of not go beyond what our recall, because we're not able to expand our mind. We're not able, because like me, I probably sound fucking crazy, and I probably recall. But here's the thing: if I don't sound crazy, if I don't sound like a fucking lunatic, how would you know that I am? How would I be? How it's like if you said like this sounds fucking crazy. At least you know that I could write something. Okay, At least if he sounds crazy, chances are he could write something very fucking crazy out of the fucking somebody's brain. It might seem unique and shit like that, right? So, the science is containing our crazy thoughts. Because if you go beyond that, no longer do you have control. And as I mentioned, there's like people who are creating things to die out of nowhere, who committed suicide because of the 3-letter word that starts with a C, ends in an A, or F that ends in an I. Decide, hey, get rid of this fucking person because they're gonna ruin the whole fucking game. And the whole idea for AI, because there's a dream I had, and then there's a theory I have where there's an alien invasion that's supposed to happen on the 27th next year, and I had a dream of that with the Chinese and I whatever blah blah. And I think maybe in that sense that maybe it's to stop AI, which AI will just clean out every system, and it becomes now that we are the people, even though we said we are the people who control this vehicle. In reality, we do not. We all know we do not. And once AI comes, that becomes we We are the people. We actually control our destiny, shit like that. And maybe this alien invasion might be that what fucking tries to get them back that power, because it will give us that power. But crazy thoughts, right? And I think we had a lot of smart people with a lot of crazy thoughts, because they think a lot. And not only did they think a lot, they think about things that don't fit the norm. And guess what? Something starts to click, and when everything starts to click, they no longer exist, or they decided, hey, I love life and everything is fucking great, but some reason out of nowhere I decide to delete myself, because for some mysterious reason, right? So I think that's time. I think time could be what it could be. It's not what time is. Oh my god. Because if you remember, maybe the Watchers, maybe, ooh, maybe the Watchers in punishment decided at time. Science. We are, with our human body, we are only limited to 120 years. I guess because after that, something within our body tells us we can't go past that. Once we go past, it's not physically possible for us to go past 120. So there's an actual limit to our bodies, and it's 120. But also there's this thing you could look at, the tablets, the Enoch tablets, I forgot what they got, the ammo tablets. Basically, they said there's like this little caps on our fucking DNA or something that stops us from recall. And maybe the reason why we have only 120 years, because the little caps are capping us at 120 years. But once we just take that off, we will go beyond that. And that's why I think also with AI, it could just fucking boom. And maybe that's time, but maybe that's time. Maybe that's time. No. Maybe time isn't just not time, but a disease. So I'm thinking right now, and I'm trying to hold it. Maybe time is like a cell. Okay, I'm gonna repeat myself. Time. We had a certain amount of time, 120 years. We have 120 years, and ammo tablets. We have capped the thing on top of our DNA, and the ammo tablets took it out. The ammo tablets could take it out by peeing. The ammo tablets gave you the Philosopher's Stone. And I'm trying to say time is not only time. Even though we see it as time, it's not only time. And the Emerald Tablet says, you have to pee and let it, I think you have to pee in it, and you have to make sure it gets black, and once you go black, you drink it, and that's how you get infinity. That's how you can live forever. That's how you live forever. And maybe time is blood cells. Maybe time is the electric current. And I'm thinking maybe, because why not blood, right? It should be blood. Maybe it is blood and maybe it's not pee. And that's... Or maybe the blood has time in it. And that's why you can't use blood, but you could use pee. Right, pee is disinfectant, right? Pee. What is pee? Yeah, of course. Urine is liquid waste that your kidneys make to remove excess fluids and waste products from your body. Blood doesn't. Because if blood was bad, then that would be a negative. And maybe that's why you need pee. Because urine, what's it? Waste products from your body. Waste products. Maybe the waste products of that bad time. Or the removement of time. So it's going through the system, boom, boom, and instead of because if you don't want time to be removed from your body. Well, in the sense of gods, don't want time to be removed from your body. So they keep it, in your blood. And the pee could be that where it passes through and you get all the recall. And maybe if you do it until it's black and you drink it, that takes out, it essentially takes out all the bad time. Because it'll be in your system, because you're drinking and it will be in your system. The Philosopher's Stone says you have to pee in it. You have to make it into something until it turns black. But you have to do it in a certain way. I forgot what you have to add. You have to add things into it. There's a book, but they said some guy did it and he did it, but there's something that they didn't do, that he did it, that nobody knows that he did, that was different, and boom, that's how he was able to, because he also no longer was here. So maybe times it's within us, and then it's, or it's just, as I say, it could just be a whole fucking barrier that it's being used, and we shouldn't think time as just some magical thing that we pass by, but time actually being a thing that is like the wind, or is like the electric wave that's going to my laptop, to my wireless earphones. We shouldn't think time as this nothingness, but actual thing that's running us, and it's seeping into our body, in our system, that we are plagued by it. And they said the Philosopher's Stone is the way to do that, to live longer, and I'm thinking maybe it's the pee. And what it does, I guess it gets all the waste that's bad inside your body, and then you could just make it. I don't know if it's purifying it, or making it so bad that you could, when you drink it and you ingest it, it's killing off the time. Time being either cells, time being either an electron or neutron or whatever that shit's, that little atoms in our body, whatever it is, it's affecting it. Oh my god, I don't know. I don't know. That sounds fucking crazy, but also it's like, if you're into that fucking alien shit, you know, so you start to pick things apart, and you start to see little things that I just don't think. I think time is a contract. I don't think time is a contract, because I think if you're saying time is a contract, you're like saying it's an idea. It's not an idea. It's an actual fucking physical thing. I guess if you want to say physical, like the electric waves that go through my laptop into my phone. That's not physical, but whatever that is, that's what it is. As I'm thinking this out, so that's starting to form in my head what time is. Yeah, I was gonna go into physics. I think that was it. I think it's just the same thing. The same thing is applied. I think I already mentioned how that plays a part. How that like. We are the products of our physics within the Earth. We call. We could go to the interstellar. We go to science and stuff like that. Where, if you, the interstellar is just more of an example, but you could go to the moon landing. Even though I'm of the idea that we have stepped on the moon. It's just more or less of how. I think we stepped on the moon. It's just more or less of we stepped on the moon and aliens were there. Like, we're gonna have a problem here. Cut the cameras. We gotta talk. But I think the whole moon landing, the video we see, it's a fake. It's not real. We landed on the moon. It just, that moon landing thing, it's been created. And to think, oh no, how can that possibly Soviet Union try? I think it was the Soviet Union. Whoever we were going to the war with, the Cold War, I think it was the Soviet Union. They try to do that bullshit, but they're like, obviously, like everybody saw this, like, yeah, that's fucking fake. And then you could go to what else was fake? Oh, the what is it? Nuclear. The nuclear bombing, where they show videos of the power of the vehicle, and obviously some guy showed it where it looked like there was a car behind the house. When the first time it wasn't. It could just be as simple as vehicle, but the way they cut it, it made it seem like it was like this continuous thing, which it wasn't. But they fake things, and just some say so. The idea is that the fact that you don't think the government or whatever might fake something just to fake something, it's a fucking lie. We faked a lot of things, and yeah. I was going with this. Oh, the moon landing. If you see how they, as I mentioned, it's fake, but if you want to believe it, if you see how they jump a little bit higher and they walk a little different and stuff like that. So you're playing with the physics of that, the moons we call, and I guess beyond in space, that physics is very manipulative. You could just, I think you could, there's like the wormhole, the bridge, Einstein and Rosen bridge, where you could just bend time and recall. So basically time is, no, a space is like mold. You could mold that shit. if you depending if you watch anime, I mentioned how the universe is the Big Bang is the exception of the universe, and basically what's underneath the simulation, which is the universe, is all the materials that creates vehicle. So it's a basically mode, you can mode whatever, and then that's why the simulation comes in, where you actually all those modes come to life and create, blah blah blah. But it goes to show that maybe the space might be a just some mode you could fixture however you may be. Maybe you could create planets. I don't know, but there's the idea you could bend time and you could cut. No, you could bend space and you could cut time between one place to another instead of like say 10 light years by 1 light year. And yeah, and physics are within the domain of that planet, and outside physics don't apply. By the same thing as time, physics don't apply because it doesn't exist in time. It doesn't exist. It only exists in the time you're in. I gotta take a time to get the piss, but I might go deep on that. If not, this is a goodbye. Maybe physics doesn't matter either. Doesn't exist. Physics only exists in the realm or domain of Earth and other planets, and how you manipulate that is however it's how talented you are to know to what you could play with this playground. Because once you go out of space, it just seems like everything just doesn't fucking make sense after that, right? At least from what we learn from science, right? It's a vacuum of space or whatever it may be to keep using. And you could bend time, you could bend space, and gravity is a thing, but you keep using that little grid, that grid thing to define gravity and stuff like that. And is it really that? And then maybe I cut this one out, or maybe as I said, whatever I said last one might be the end, or this. But I'm thinking, because as I mentioned, this is all coming to me. I was gonna do it yesterday, but right now it's cook. I was watching it and I wanted to keep watching Jujutsu Kaisen, but this shit was starting to recall, and even though it was cooking, it was still wasn't really thought out well. Where I still have questions like I have right now. Like I didn't expect to go to physics and time. No, I knew time didn't exist in my mind, but the way I'm thinking about time now, it's more or less of a. I think I was already thinking that, but now it's more like, yeah. And now I'm thinking about physics and how that might not apply at all, only to crazy, right? I was watching. Who was I was watching? Neil deGrasse. A little clip of they was talking about how we have to, once we live, how long it will take before we leave our solar system. But there's fucking layers to it. There's fucking layers to it. You think once we leave the solar system, we leave the bubble? We don't leave the bubble. We reach a nerve. Something like the Oort fucking cloud. Leaving the solar system means passing the heliopause. When the sun's solar wind stops and interstellar space begins. After passing the heliosphere's barrier, you enter the local interstellar cloud, a region filled with interstellar plasma rather than solar wind. Radiation exposure to the protective bubble of the heliosphere, which shields the solar system from high energy cosmic rays, is no longer surrounding you, leading to increased radiation exposure. Permanent darkness without a nearby sun. Space is extremely dark with only distant stars and cold dust surrounding you. Survival challenges for humans as environment is lethal without the journey for a rogue traveler moving through the vast is light years away. Cause I'm watching. I'm aware of what he was talking about. It's like this Oort cloud. Maybe that's the heliosphere. I don't know, but I remember this thing. I forgot. I think it was from him or some other fucking science shit I watched. But no, recently I watched him talk about it, and I was aware of that. But before that, the reason why I was even aware of that was because I was like, yeah, you understand how heavy, when I was like very young. No, after, like in my 20s, I was just fucking deep in that science shit. I was fucking knees deep on that side. Not like inner, like space. I mean, I was deep in space and like the theory of relativity. I was all into that. So that's when that time I probably knew about it. Because I was like so deep into space and all the scientific facts and how things and stuff like that. I was so like not even though what I'm saying, even though I didn't fucking like it in school and whatever, it was, I don't know, it's because I suppose I knew about that, right? And when he says that, no, this one I'm reading. The thing is passing the heliosphere as the sun solar wind stops and interstellar space begins. Maybe that's where time, where physics is, that's our reality. That's what's being pumped into our solar system. That bubble is what's formulating everything, right? And maybe, so you know what I'm saying, like that, so that. And if you break that barrier, because I'm watching that Jujutsu Kaisen, and you know what I'm saying, you can't enter that veil, because if you enter that veil, you just can't. You could if you're strong enough or whatever, but stuff like that, right? But within that veil, it's the rules of the person who created it. So within our little, was it heliopass? Heliopass? Pause. That's our governance to time, space, and whatever else that is creating the reality, the rules in our solar system. So now I'm thinking about the space in between. Once you leave it, you're in interstellar, I guess, interstellar space, and as I, if I don't know if you heard me, if I'm reading it off, it's complete darkness. I'm thinking, because I'm trying to think about flat Earth, and maybe I just don't need to think about flat Earth. But the reason I'm trying to think about flat Earth is more or less of a Norse mythology and the different realms, the 9 realms. In the realm we are in, and I'm thinking, you know, this is the realm we are in, and the realm, other realms we call it, and that darkness, that inner space, is that, but they can't go past because that's probably the milkiness, the oceanness, and the we call it, you can't go there unless you're gonna die because and I'm thinking with aliens too, is that how they avoid space? Nothingness, and the nothingness of space, other than you saying all that we call. In my idea of how we call became a thing, the whole existence of us became a thing, nothingness, and the only reason why nothingness became something is because, as I mentioned, if you close your eyes, you could make colors in your head, you could start seeing things, and basically I think that's how consciousness comes and recall. Are you in the nothingness? Are you in? There's nothing. It's just a fucking playground. Nothing is the playground of ideas. So I'm thinking, is that how they spend time? And my problem is because I'm so beholden to reality as we know it, I'm like still trying to find like grounded ideas to incorporate this craziness I'm thinking right now, right? And maybe that's an issue that I am, because at some point it's like there's constant things that are going against each other, but there's things are like space is it is a play. It is, you don't have to abide by the rules other than what space is nothingness, and whatever that could be created from it. Yeah, but once you enter recall, then there's rules, and it seems like you're just constantly breaking the world building, because you know how when you write stories, world building, it has to make sense. Because if somebody, I guess the huge issue is, I guess it would be like a fucking, I don't know, I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z in a minute, but it's like, this guy, he reaches the highest power and nobody can beat him because he's superior. And then all of a sudden, somewhere out of the blue, something becomes superior, and it's constantly that boom, boom, up top, recall, and it's like, what happened there? Obviously, they try to make it make sense why Austin they could not do it, but it just seems like they're making things up now, right? Because all of a sudden now this, and this, and this, and this, and it starts to be a ladder of chaos. Chaos is a ladder. It starts to be like that. It starts to like, there's no rules, because at the end of it, you're gonna bend the rules to make this new rule. And that's what I think right now, like I'm trying to, in this sense, it's stopping that. We stopped that, so we had a cap where we're at, and now it's like boom, other people are able to break it and stuff like that. This constant, it's just more or less of constantly like you're just breaking things, and there's not this set of rules that are applied because you're just breaking it to your own will because it fits the story. And I think that's a problem. What I'm trying to not keep doing is being okay with that. Because I'm constantly like, this all sounds fucking crazy, and how would that make sense when this, like, I'm like, all the alien shit I watch and stuff like that, and it seems like it's a whole fucking ordeal with the alien shit, because it's like there's different kinds of aliens. There's interdimensional aliens. There's like all these different kinds of aliens. So it's already breaking that. So it might sound like I'm this alien says this, and so this is the gospel. But in reality, there's another alien that's so fucking far out there that you're like, they don't abide by that rule. Then there's another fucking group of aliens. You know what I'm saying? There's like, so even at that, it just even though it sounds crazy in this kind of aliens ideology, there's other interdimensional alien says otherwise, and this one says otherwise, and so it's like, okay, so I could play with that, but once you go in space, maybe it stops there. Maybe you can mold things, but you essentially all that rules that you're setting up that constantly, breaks one and breaks the other, it stops there. Physics. So yeah, so that ball, we haven't even. I do not think the furthest telescope that we have has broken through that bubble yet. Also, as I'm watching this, right? I don't know what episode. I'm like on episode 32, and right now there's like the last episode I'm watching. Now I'm gonna start to watch whenever I'm done with this. I'm gonna watch like 8:06, and I'm supposed to go to Muay Thai today, but I feel fucking like I want to, because there's a Poma rope because of Jujutsu Kaisen. Okay, I'm gonna get to that. It's gonna be might be a fucking long one. Either way, I'm gonna get to that. In the show, right? As I mentioned, I think the furthest not telescope, satellite we have, I don't think it's past that Helios cloud or Oct cloud, whatever it's called. I don't think it has passed that. And then I'm thinking about just right now, because as I just thought about that, I'm 32. I'm going to watch it. 31 episode 1. They're talking about they're trapped in the veil, and they can't leave. Every time they hit it, they can't leave. The human says they need the Goju guy to come before they're able to leave, and he finally enters the bubble, and that's the last episode that I've seen. Sorry, because I'm fucking thinking, and I'm like, the problem I was having with flat Earth. No, I have my whole issue with flat Earth is not real, but whatever, right? And then I mentioned the Norse mythology and stuff like that, and I'm trying to think, and to me it's kind of weird that Chris Blessa says, when they fly out ships, nobody can leave the Earth atmosphere unless accompanied by an alien and stuff like that. And then I'm like, the story I made. I'm writing the story. I'm like, I think I have maybe 2 pages, maybe. And I'm writing it and stuff like that, but the whole story was of the idea that once we passed the firmament, all I saw was darkness. I didn't know what to think of it. Then now it seems like, oh, it's space. That's what you're gonna see beyond the firmament, is space. No. But you're gonna see beyond the firmament is not space, but the thing. If you want to play God of War, just like this, or we could just like this. It's gonna be like this soul realm. So once you pass the firm, it's gonna be this soul realm, and you can't go past it unless these people help you out to go, because you won't be able. And I'm like, and even at that, I'm having trouble dealing with that too. And now I'm thinking, maybe once we pass that little thing. Even though they're telling us it's space, in reality it's the spiritual realm. And these little bubbles that we're in are floating in the spiritual realm. And the spiritual realm is outside, looking. Sometimes they're entering into this realm that we're in, our solar system, or the solar system over there, or whatever the case may be. They're just runs in this flow, in this vehicle, right? And we can't go past that. And if you go past that, it's vehicle. And the other idea with me is because I'm trying to figure out the whole flat Earth thing, and one of the things I thought about is teleportation. So once you hit because the idea of these flat earthers, they believe in reality we're not going in a rotation to the globe. We're going like in zigzags and whatever to the actual places on the planet, not this rotation on a globe, right? And I'm trying to figure out how to do that where that makes sense with flat earthers, instead of just being like zigzagging, because ultimately your perception would be it will confuse you. To me it'd be like, no, I'm going straight. I'm going fucking straight. You could tell me I'm going left or right, but I'm going fucking straight. And I think with that, I think that's where it falls in. And when their explanation. So the other thought I had was teleportation. So once you hit this part at the end of the flat Earth, you're going to the opposite side, and so you're constantly going. So you're actually doing the rotation. The only difference is it's a flat Earth, and you're boom, boom, boom. still applies in flat Earth, but I'm saying maybe in our realm, in the universe we speak of, those bubbles, once you hit that, you're teleported to this solar system, that solar system. But then again, because they talk about, because the issue is, because I'm like, we got the alien stuff, and one of the things they talk about is us being a little like a truck stop for us being a little gas station stop before they go to another one, stuff like that. Some things from some aliens said that and shit like that. Is that true? There's a chances if you believe in aliens. It's, if you don't know, that's fucking bonkers. But if you believe in it, there's some it might be true. Then so that's where I'm constantly like, why would there, unless when they talk about light years, it's between a firmament, not our. That's probably like a firmament. Oh my god, firmament. Oh my god. Earth has a firmament, and that firmament is what the fuck. Sorry. In ancient Near Eastern cosmology, the firmament was a celestial barrier that separated the heavenly waters above from the earth below. So the firmament, we have a firmament, and maybe that's what time in physics plays in, and whatever that firmament rules it to be called. But there's also a bigger firmament. And that big firmament is that one that I don't think we have passed with the satellite. Our first satellite, I think, hasn't passed the firmament. And I'm thinking maybe when they were mentioning that, because they don't want to probably spill all the beans, is that gap that within that firmament, within that huge firmament, that's how long it takes before they hit that teleportation and go to a different realm, which would be a different solar system, and I'm imagining a bunch of like these little balls out of water being bobbled along this ocean. So yeah. The firmament. There's a lot to think about. Anyways, I was gonna say I was good. I don't know what I was gonna say about the Jujutsu. I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen and I made a poem. Say Jomi Velas. I don't know, this shit just gave me so many ideas. Because I think everybody thinks like this. Not everybody. Obviously, people think differently, but we all have some general ideas that, you know what I'm saying, that we all thought once. Yeah, we thought it too much, or we haven't thought it enough. Yeah, I don't know why I wanted to speak about that, but that it made me write a poem about that because I was watching it and then how good and evil. Yeah, but I think that's it though. With the whole fucking time and physics. I think that's a thing. I think time is a thing that we can actually manipulate. And not manipulate because it's time, but manipulate because it's a plague. It's an actual it's a not physical, but whatever you would consider that, like that thing, you could manipulate it. Same thing with physics. I just think those things are beholden to certain rules that you can't go beyond, but you could do enough where it's almost supernatural to what you're able to do within that realm. Anyway, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.